Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a super sloppy sports and entertainment talk show that covers Giants football, Mets baseball, movies, TV shows, and a whole lot of comedy mixed in for good measure. It's hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the Real Cinch Neal Lynch, a former college quarterback and pitcher with a film and media studies degree, and I'm not putting any of that to use. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about my 25-year high school reunion. How'd that go? Is it pathetic? Is that loser behavior to go to your high school reunion? I will answer that question and more. We'll also talk about the Giants embarrassing themselves yet again in prime time against the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football. I'll break down how each unit performed, the highs, the lows, just a smidge more lows than highs, I will admit. We'll also preview the upcoming game against the Dolphins. I think the spread is 10.5. Giants are underdogs. Seems a little low. And we'll finish out Giants talk by giving my thoughts on signing former Giant and now former Cardinal Justin Pugh to the practice squad. And then we'll round out the pod with some Mets talk, recapping the 2023 season as if we hadn't already done that a million times already. Reactions to Buck Showalter getting fired, terminated. Okay. David Stearns had his introductory press conference. Welcome to the organization. So I'll give my thoughts on that press conference. And then kind of an early look at some top free agents that the Metros should consider to plug some holes, fill some gaps. So with that, let's get it started up in here. As I mentioned in the intro, Saturday was the 25-year high school reunion for moi. I used to mention it in the intro a bunch, but I went to a Catholic high school, even though I am not Catholic. My father was Catholic, and I guess I'm officially Episcopalian, non-practicing. Not even, I go to church for weddings and funerals, pretty much is what I do. That being said, so I don't think I was fully prepared for Catholic high school. Luckily, it wasn't the kind of Catholic high school that my dad went to. My dad actually went to a private high school, but before that, he went to like a Catholic middle school, a lot of Catholic schools growing up. And he would always tell me about how, he would speak out of turn, get fresh, do something that the nuns didn't like, because nuns were teachers. That's who the teachers were. They're all nuns. And he would just get rapped on the knuckles, the giant ruler. That was his Catholic school experience. That's like his one memory from Catholic school. So it's kind of like a little bit dreading that when I started there freshman year, but spent 3.5 years at the high school, transferred out after my sophomore year to a private school. I've told this story a bajillion times, but thought I was going to be the starting quarterback on the football team. They brought in like a 19-year-old postgraduate while I was 15. And I ended up breaking my wrist in preseason on a late hit. And the trainer told me to stop being a little bitch when I was on the ground. Not crying, full on tears, but whining. I think the word is. So, 3.5 years there. So I missed my junior year of football at this Catholic high school that I went to, Notre Dame High School in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. The Fighting Irish. But I did pick up a lot of cool Catholic stuff while there. I remember like confession freshman year. I was like, I don't even know what to say. And I think I might have started surveying a lot of the people around me in the auditorium. Like, hey, so what are you going to go with? What kind of sins you committing? What are you admitting to? What are you confessing up to? Just to try to gauge like what I should lead with. Cause I was like I think I've done a lot of bad things, but Yeah, I I joined the high school in ninth grade. I had moved back to the area, so I had lived in the area when I was like 5 and 6, and even before that, I guess 4, maybe even 3. From like 3 to 6 or 7, I lived in the Mercer County area, Lawrenceville, Kingston, and moved away for a pretty extensive amount of time. Say, what was it, 94 minus, yeah, 7 years probably. And I moved back to a town called Hopewell. First, it was West Trenton in an apartment while the house in Hopewell was being finished. Didn't go to Hopewell High School because they didn't have a football team, because they hadn't had a football team in something like, I don't know, 50 years, 70 years. They have a football team now, and actually, I guess they're pretty good. I might be wrong about that. They were good. But when I was in high school, they didn't exist because I guess a kid had died on the field or got neck injury, head injury, and died. I think was the urban legend, the story. Could be true, could be false. So that, I guess my parents didn't really investigate or do too much research about that. When they did move to Hopewell, even though we had a Trenton mailing address and we were not near Trenton, like we were literally, our house was like basically on the border of Lawrenceville, Ewing, and Hopewell, like those three coming together. And yet we had a Trenton mailing address. Sure, why not? But yeah, I guess they didn't look at the county lines, town lines on the map, because they just didn't realize that Hopewell didn't have a football team. So they sent me to the next best thing, Notre Dame Catholic High School. And yeah, one of my first memories, which would be now 29 years ago, holy shite, was, I was football camp, right? That was my first experience with the Notre Dame cohorts, peers, was football camp freshman year. I was 13 years old. Voice hadn't dropped yet. And we had a girl on the team who played center. And I was worried about taking snaps from her. I was like, so I just put my hands, oh, right there. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no problem. Never touched a girl in my life. Okay, let's do this. She did not last very long. Not because of anything that we were doing, I don't think. I'd have to ask her, but yeah, so ended up being, I guess, my buddy, who was also a freshman, was I think he was the starting quarterback, and then ended up getting moved up to JV because someone got hurt or something freshman year. So then I was the freshman quarterback, or I rotated with another guy, and then I became the freshman quarterback. I started off as a safety, and I lined up legitimately 25 yards off the ball, which is outrageous in freshman football when they do not ever throw the ball. But I was slow as fucking a snail in molasses, my man. So I kind of had to play deep. We had another guy who ended up going to the University of Delaware, I believe, on a scholarship to play offensive line. I remember feels like he was the same size the entire 4 years of high school. Just like 6'1", 270. Just like a stacked brick house. And I remember I was like playing linebacker on the I guess the equivalent of like the practice squad defense. And he pulled and destroyed me to the point where I think I had like a stinger and I was seeing stars, and I was like, all right, this is cool. This is high school football. All right. So eventually got the starting job freshman year, quarterback, kind of found a groove there. Very nice. And sophomore year, ended up not splitting a whole lot of time, but seeing some time, throwing a touchdown pass on varsity my sophomore year, but mostly starting JV. And then, I was only a year below the starting quarterback. And so it was like, am I going to sit again or split time junior year with this dude who is like far more athletic than I am? Far more athletic, way faster, way quicker. lighter on his feet, has like less, like no flubber, no blubber, as opposed to me, where I have a thick coat, thick wall. So I couldn't envision splitting time with him junior year. I mean, I guess it's possible that they would have just been like, let's just put him at running back or wide receiver because he's that athletic. But the dude also had a pretty good arm, probably a better arm than I did. So I didn't think I was going to see much time. My dad was a team doctor for a private school called Hun. And so he was like, I think you can, if you go to transfer, you can repeat your sophomore year and you could start for 3 years. Or I thought he said 3 years. Maybe he was like, you'll play behind blah, 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 and then start your last 2 years, junior and senior year. And I must have missed that because like the idea that I was going to have to sit behind this post grad when they also had a wide receiver with a cannon for an arm who's a pitcher on the baseball team. And I'm not mentioning names because I don't think they want their names mentioned, but a lefty, southpaw. The post grad was a lefty who I think might have been a walk-on at Rutgers. I can't remember. He's from Piscataway. So that's why I was thinking Rutgers, but maybe he didn't end up going to Rutgers. Kind of like not really a Steve Young type, but lefty, not incredibly tall, probably like same height as me, 6 foot, 6'1", maybe a little bit shorter. I don't know. But just super quick, agile, can scramble like crazy. I think that's where he would pick up most of his chunk yardage was on scrambles. But and then the guy that was a year above me was also a lefty and had a cannon for an arm. And eventually, I think, saw time that season at quarterback. So I was like third on the depth chart there. So I was like, wait, how did I go from I'm going to start 3 years to now I'm third on the depth chart? And so I started to miss my friends at the Catholic high school. And, it kind of got to me. And so I transferred back from what would be my second semester of my junior year, even though I never had a first semester. There was no fall semester. So technically 3.5 years. But it is interesting how I just completely, we didn't have Facebook or social media. Google just became a thing when I was entering college in 98. So I don't think I had a cell phone. I think whenever I went out, like in high school, I would borrow my dad's cell phone or his beeper or something like that to stay in touch, to let them know what was going on. So, I didn't have my own cell phone. And I think I might have tried to stay. I remember exchanging letters with a classmate freshman year in high school. Eventually it became emails, like just emailing people from high school here and there. But it was never, I hung out with maybe 1 or 2 guys over college break, in the summer and the winter breaks. So I didn't keep in close touch, stay in touch, which I know is shocking to all my friends hearing this. They're like, what? You not communicate, not reach out or text or call or smoke signal? Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I have an issue with that, reaching out to people. So I didn't really do that in college or right after college. Kind of fell into, hanging out with college friends, and then met some friends post college. Kind of went that route, but always found myself reconnecting and interweaving with a lot of my high school friends. And it is crazy that I can go to these reunions and it's like, haven't missed a beat. Like we're just right back where the relationship was. We're like fairly close knit, like just joking around, kidding around, fooling around, and just having a goddamn good old time. So as I mentioned before on a previous episode, like the 20-year reunion, I was married. We had just had my daughter. So it was probably like less than 2 months after having her. So I was like sleep deprived, like a motherfucker. Sleep deprived. I had gone to, it was in Surf City, LBI area. we were living up in Wayne at the time. So it was a good, it felt like a 3-hour ride. With traffic, it might have been a 3-hour ride, but I think it's closer to an hour and a half, 2-hour drive from Wayne to Surf City. And I had an eye exam that morning. I had to sit in my car because they dilated my pupils. So I had to sit in my car until my eyesight got better, because I didn't want to put my then wife out, who was taking care of the kiddo, baby. So I was like, I'm just going to sit in my car and wait until this gets in focus. And then, of course, I pull out of my spot around to the stop sign, and I'm like, oh, well, hold on. Let me just check to make sure the directions are right. I'm checking my phone. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I accelerate, and the car just swipes the front end of my car. And it was like, and I was like, oh, shit. This is like the first and only accident that I've been in. Like, twice I have bumped the bumper in front of me accidentally. Is that an accident? Technically, I guess it is. It was an accident, but it's like no damage, no harm, no foul. Curiously enough, the first one was in high school. I was behind one of my many crushes in high school, who was driving in the car in front of me, and I probably had just gotten my license, so I was acting like a complete fool. I remember looking out the window, and I was like doing something stupid with the car while looking out the window to, my side, trying to like make my friend laugh, basically, is, that's my entire existence. So that was probably what I was doing. And then I bumped the car in front of me, which one of my many crushes was driving. And so I was just like, hey, sorry. Want to go to prom? No? Cool. No, she actually ended up being my junior prom date. What a magical time that was. And what an awful way I handled that whole situation. It was like, I know I wanted to take her. There was some kind of like get together sleepover type thing. And someone was like, oh, so-and-so forgot the puck that she got at the ice rink. And I was like, oh, I live right by her, which is true. Within walking distance, I'll return it to her. And so I figured, okay, this is the opportunity. I'm going to return it and ask her then. And I think I chickened out. I think I walked all the way over there, went to hand her the puck, and I was like, there you go. She's like, thanks. Anything else? Anything? Bueller? And I was just like, yeah, hey, you got to keep better track of your pucks. No. Jesus. I think I ended up writing a note that I had someone else fold, and then I shoved it in her locker. Oh my God, Neil. Embarrassing much? So yeah. I don't even know where I was going with that. But yeah, so it was the first of the two accidents, and then the second accident was probably right after college, or like right toward the summer after college. And it was that song, that parody of My Neck, My Back, when the Nets went to the finals against the Lakers. It was like, gonna get Kobe and get Shaq. The Nets are back. Gonna get Kobe and get Shaq. And we didn't. Obviously, we got torched by the Lakers in that finals. But I was kind of flown to that. And I think I just didn't see the car in front of me stop short and tap the bumper. So I mean, technically, I guess my third accident, but the first one that caused damage. And so I'm rattled by that. And then I made the drive down, and my then wife was like, "Here, take an Adderall." Because you're so sleep deprived, and also because it's great. It's going to give you so much energy, and you're going to feel full of life. And so I ended up taking that. I think on an empty stomach. Mistake number one. And then drank a whole lot of booze, ate zero food. And then I think it was around midnight. I was like wondering why I was getting death stares from probably half the people at the bar that were not part of the reunion. And then I ended up buying a tray of fireball shots for a group of group of classmates, and then waddled my fat ass to bed. Woke up in my clothes, no big deal. And then had one of the most severe hangovers I've ever had in my life. I couldn't even get the fork to my mouth at went to the restaurant next door for brunch, breakfast, whatever. And was shaking as the fork was trying to make its way towards the mouth. And that drive home was the most anxiety that one can have. So that was a good time though. The 20-year reunion. I had a lot of fun. Got to talk to a lot of people, and I just had a great time. Wish it lasted longer. So the 25-year reunion, I'm like, okay, first and foremost, no Adderall. Let's just throw that out the door. The last reunion, weed wasn't legal in New Jersey, marijuana wasn't legal. And now, as of January 2021, it is recreationally, I believe. So made sure to, I don't want to call it microdose, but if you have a 10 milligram and you cut it into fourths, that's, 2.5 milligrams. I'm like, all right, we're just going to time release this stuff, so that's just a little here, a little there, a little here, space it out and you'll be good to go. So I had gone earlier in the day. I went to see The Creator at a noon 12p showing, and had a gigantic bucket of popcorn, which I always do when I go there, and I never think twice about it. And for someone who thinks so much about what others think, I don't. The only thing I think about with that move is am I crunching my popcorn too loud? Not, is this too much popcorn for one person? Yes, it is, for sure. I'm thinking, people are going to get upset I'm crunching my popcorn too loud, because apparently I do chew my food way too loud. So, I went to see The Creator at noon. Night before, I watched The Machine with Bert Kreischer, which I might get a review of that at some point. TBD, date TBD. Then Ahsoka, episode 7, that Ahsoka series has been so awesome and amazing. It has restored our faith in Star Wars universe franchise series. Almost feel like it should have been a movie. Anyway. And then the Shane Gillis stand-up comedy special, Beautiful Dogs on Netflix. Highly recommend. I was pretty toasted when I tweeted this, but I said stand-up comedy special of the year. Best of the year. So I know that he's got a stigma attached to him because he was supposed to be on Saturday Night Live. He got cast, and then someone took part of his podcast out of context, and so then he was labeled like a racist or something, and so they had to rescind their offer or fire him, I guess. I don't know. But he's a funny dude. I don't know if that, whatever. He's a funny dude. I remember I saw his previous special and I was like, I get it. And I talked about it on this pod about how he was talking about having a conservative Fox News dad, whereas I have a Fox News mom. So who could relate? I can. So this one, Beautiful Dogs, even better. So 10 out of 10. Please watch. So I go to, that's Friday night. Get to bed at a decent hour, I guess. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And then woke up in time for The Creator. Creator is almost 2.5 hour movie. And then strapped on the ankle weights, the wrist weights, the vest, the weighted vest. And I jogged for what I was hoping was 4 miles. I was hoping to get 8,000 steps in. And I think I got pretty damn close. And I did some stretches and exercises that I found on my Twitter feed, because that's all I do on Twitter now is bookmark all these how-to threads that, 99% of them I never read again or never do. I read it and then I'm like, I should do that. And then I don't do it. But these were I don't know if I should say it. They're exercises for your hips and your pelvis. Yeah, that region. A lot of thrusts to help with, certain skill sets, usually in private situations. So I've been bookmarking a lot of those and doing a lot of those, thinking maybe it'll pay off. So I feel like I was in good position. I had prepared myself the right way and, didn't get too dressed up. Wore my dark denim, my boots, my fall boots, which I do dig. I do like a lot. And then a button down shirt, like Ralph Lauren button down shirt with like a quarter zip pullover, all red, because red is the color of passion. And I wanted to let everyone know, hey, last time I was married, this time not married. And also red, soak it in. So that was strategic. And it damn near almost kind of maybe not really pulled it off. Almost got the message across to anyone willing to receive it. But it was a 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock open bar. It was not far away. I'm now in the Princeton area, and it was at the Nottingham Tavern. Shout out Nottingham Tavern. I believe this was my first ever time going to Nottingham Tavern. We had reserved the outdoor patio. Beautiful outdoor space. It was private to us for those 3 hours. Open bar for 3 hours. They had food for 3 hours. Got in the Uber. I took an Uber, obviously. I'm going to be responsible. Got the Uber, and the Uber must have done some kind of research or something on me, because I get in, and this guy is pumping, like I was in high school from 94 to 98. And this guy was pumping 94 to 98 jams, like pretty hard. So I appreciated that. And then as soon as I walked onto to the outdoor patio, it was like, nearly ho. I was like, here we go. All right, let's get it started. So found my name tag. Actually, I had to have someone else find my name tag for me because apparently I'm horrific at trying to find things. And then noticed there was only there had to be like 50 plus people that showed up to this thing. Maybe more. I don't know, but they only had one. So there's a pizza oven in the back of the outdoor patio, with one of our classmates a year above us, who runs the joint, cooking some pizza fresh right there and then. Had a few slices of that, so good. And then on the other side, they had like salad, charcuterie, antipasto, roast beef type things, which I ate with my bare hands because I'm an animal. And they only had like one server type waiter who I don't think is a actual server waiter. I think it was just like, hey, dude, you want to make some cash tonight? Stop on by. We're not going to tell you what it is, but he was taking orders from all of us, and all of us to a T were so impatient. Or like, where is the waiter with my drinks? So eventually people were ordering 2 at a time, 3 at a time. And I was just ordering double tequilas. He was rattling off. He's like, all right, here's what's included. Red wine, white wine, beer, blah, 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 like that. And I was like, keep going. And then he was like, Tito's vodka. And I was like, what about, do you have any liquors? And he goes, yes, 2. Tito's liquor, Tito's vodka, and house tequila. And I'm like, all right, well, what's your house tequila? And he goes, I don't know, dude. And I was like, all right, is it clear? And he's like, yeah, I think. And I was like, all right, let's do that. And then he took forever. And I was like, all right, we're going to double that. So double tequila every time you see me. So I think a lot of people got antsy with that. But food was good. Conversation was great. I think some people didn't know that I had divorced, and that's always like the breaking the news to them is always kind of like, because I think my one friend was like, so where are you guys living? How are you guys doing? And I was like, guys, like me and my daughter. And they're like, you and your wife? And I'm like, no. So having to it's always just fragile, tough, sensitive territory. Because I was like, I don't mind talking about it, but I don't know how in depth do you guys want to get on this? If you want to get in depth, refer to this episode right here. there is an episode that covers all that. I don't think I should bore you with that right now at the reunion. So let's just say I'm in a better place. Like I was pretty dark there for 2 years, but I'm now coming out of it, pulling out of the tailspin, and we're on the up and up. That's what you need to know. But a lot of talk about kiddos, stuff of that nature. A lot of just being goofy, which I miss so much. There's just a couple friends where it's like, and it's always so funny because I hang out with these friends, we get goofy, right? We just get silly, goofy, like random, wild, obscure stuff that we talk about. And then, someone else will ask me, oh, the reunion, that's great. You saw so-and-so? And I was like, yep. And they're like, so where are they living? What are they doing? How are their family? And I'm like, couldn't tell you. We talked for an hour or two that night and we didn't cover any of that. It's just like, well, what? And I feel like that's more of a woman thing. I don't know. I'm probably being sexist, but I just feel like anytime I'm with dudes, I'm talking about just random, funny, obscure dude stuff. I'm not talking about like, oh, so, where'd you celebrate your anniversary and how do you get to work? And it's just like, I don't know. That kind of stuff. It's just like, yeah, pretty run of the mill for high school reunions, I guess. And I think my other friend mentioned that. He's like, yeah, majority of the people here, you're going to ask like 3 or 4 questions and that's it. It's like, oh, what have you been up to? Where do you work? Do you married? Do you have kids? How's your family? Sounds good. Bye. Which not the worst thing. I had another group of friends that just refused to go. And I was like, can you just tell me why? Like none of you have plans because you would have said, I have plans. Like I'm busy. I can't go. But instead it's just like, no, you're just refusing to go because they must view it as like lame or something like that. Well, it's a bunch of people I don't want to see. And it's like, but I'm going to be there. Don't you want to see me? Aren't I reason enough? And they're like, well, we can just hang out separately as a group. And I'm like, but this is an opportunity to just hang out as a group there. And you don't even have to talk to anyone else, but no dice. They wouldn't budge. They wouldn't show up. So maybe I'm the part of the reason why they didn't want to go. I don't know. But it's just like, wait, so I haven't seen all you guys in a while. This is an opportunity for you to not only see me, but other people you haven't seen in a while. And I'm sure you don't hate all of them, do you? All of them you hate? Or don't want to talk to, are you just too nervous, too anxious? What's going on? Because it was a great time. I mean, I think everyone pretty much had fun. There is one woman who has from high school that has, I think, rejected my friend request or has never answered it. And so I think I rescinded it because I was like, you ever have that moment where it's like you have a follow request or a friend request or whatever, and you have no idea, like, when is the last time, like, what's going on? What's taking so long? And then they like never accept it. And you're like, whoa, what have I done? I've done something really egregious, something very awful for this person to think, to be like, oh, fuck this guy. No way. This guy is he being serious? So that woman was there. And I was like, hey, how's it going? And she's like, good. Like, not give me the like excited, like every other person was excited except this person. She was like, I'm good. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. Whatever I did, I'm sorry. I'm like 90% sure it was at the Osprey in Manasquan, this huge nightclub that has a rock room, boom room, which is like the techno room. And then like we call purgatory because it's in between rock room and techno room, which I guess technically doesn't make sense because does that mean like techno room is heaven and rock room is hell or vice versa? I call it purgatory, but it's the middle section. This must have been like a year or two out of college. I was living down with my grandparents at the time at the shore. And I remember my buddy from high school came to visit and we went to the Osprey and we're just standing there watching, looking out at the crowd at the band. And someone squeezed my tush, my bum. And so I turn around, and I believe it was her with her friend, and they're both attractive ladies. And I just completely I just turned right back around. It's like, you wait your life for something like that. You wait a lifetime to get a little pinchy on the caboose from a hottie, a cutie. And like, I turned, saw them, they were giggling and laughing. And I think I might have smirked and then turned back. And it's like, no, dude, no, dumbass. Turn back around, go over there, and let's get this let's build a conversation. Let's see where this relationship can go. Let's get physical. So that was one of the major regrets in my life, for sure. And I think it was because I was with my buddy from high school, and he wanted no part of it because he like is over high school. Like I guess these people had such horrific high school experiences that they just don't want anything to do with anyone from the high school. It's just like, I'm sorry that happened to you, but this is an opportunity that I don't get very often. So I think if I weren't with him, I think someone else would have been like, hey, numbnuts, turn around. Every now and then we get a little bit closer. Turn around, dude. Go over there and let's hit it up. Let's do this. But no. So is that enough for you to not accept a friend request? Like years later? What happened? What did I do? Who did I piss off? What happened? So that was like maybe the most awkward for me. She probably doesn't even remember or just doesn't go on Facebook. It's just like, I'm here thinking like, oh, she's sitting there like reviewing my friend request. Like, absolutely not. And it's like, nope, she just probably never saw it, or I don't know. So, but one of my buddies is a veterinarian, and I think he's over the veterinarian game for sure. It is. I don't want to say astonishing, but the amount of people in the medical community that I know that are like, I just want to quit. Like, I just want to stop. It's too much. But I think he's cut down his workload to like 2 or 3 days a week in the office, which is pretty good. But he's just got a great sense of humor. Was my left tackle on the football team. I believe my left tackle might have been right tackle. And then I had the left tackle was the other dude who was there. Slimmed down a little bit since his playing days, wearing sandals like a beast, like a creature from the Black Lagoon, wearing the flippy floppies. Which is it does make sense if you know the dude. And then I was voted class clown in high school. No big deal. And the lady, my female cohort, because you had to have, for every superlative, I guess you had to have a male and a female. I don't know how they do it now with the superlatives. Is there a male, female, non-binary, gender fluid? Like they have to do like 4 or 5, maybe 6, 7 for all the identities? I don't know. All the gender identities? I don't know. But she, her was the female class clown. I was the male class clown. So ridiculous. But every time I'm hanging out with her, it's just like, should we do a show? Should we travel the country? Should we hit the road? Take this act on the road. She was my junior winter prom date. Cotillion, I think they called it, the winter cotillion. And that was like when I had just returned back to the Catholic high school from the private high school. And that was a good time. And I take a wild guess how that turned out that night. Neil, did you fumble? Oh boy, did you fumble. You know it, brother. You know it. Because you return in, what was it? Early to mid-January. The winter cotillion was like later in January. So as soon as I can get in there, people are like, you should go to the winter cotillion with so-and-so. And I'm like, oh yeah. I kind of like that. And then, I don't tell you guys, I didn't have my first kiss until freshman year in college. It was freaking petrified to have my first kiss. Thought it was going to stink. Not to brag, not to boast, but I haven't had any bad reviews yet, I don't think. It would be good if there was a website I could check out to be like, just put in my name, be like, he's like a 6.7 out of 10. I've had better, but there's a lot more that are worse. So yeah, in terms of like making a move, even to this day, like I just don't make moves. It's very rare that I will make the first move. It's like, it's got to be blatantly obvious. Like, I've noticed that you've taken your top off. How interesting. Would you like to engage in some kind of kissing activity? So yeah, she was there. I had a blast with her. We ended up, she was like, we were the last people standing. I made it my mission this time. I was like, I'm making it to the after party, because I heard from friends after the 20th reunion that like, oh yeah, missed you at the after party. Went to the beach, went here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, can't let that happen. Not that anything good happens. I mean, sometimes good things happen that late at night. I mean, it did recently, but you know, you never know until, you know, it's like playing the lotto. Hey, you never know. It could happen. So that's why it's like, I made it a mission. Okay, I'm going to stay up as late as I humanly possibly can, be coherent so that I can possibly just have maximum fun, you know, just like maximize the fun. So the open bar flew by. 7 to 10 open bar flew by. And another buddy of mine is a dentist, so I might need to hit him up for some dental work, even though he's probably like an hour or two away. I forget where he is, but he's not on social media. And I was just like, I really wish you were on social media, because I think you'd be. I mean, I totally understand why you're not, because it's actually not befitting of you. You just don't need it. You don't want it. You don't need it, and that's so refreshing. Because I go on Twitter about 1,000 times a day. It needs to stop. So yeah, it was good connecting with him. He was my fullback / slot back on the football team. The buddy I told you that was who actually was starting on JV as a quarterback when I was a freshman, even though it was the same year. I ended up becoming the starting quarterback senior year, and then he moved to slot back. And he's always thanked me for that. He's like, thank you for being. I was like, this is interesting. Like, you were the quarterback. You didn't want to be the quarterback? He's like, no. I'm so glad you came along, because I was not looking forward to that. I was like, okay, all right. He is blind in one eye, so I think that had something to do with it. It's like with the quarterback, you know, that can be a little tricky, like, you know, dropping back and trying to survey the field with one eye. But I guess as a slot back, if you line up on the right side, it would be okay, or the left side. I forget which side he had to line up on, but like he could, I guess, see better. I don't know. Definitely bit us in the ass on one play that ended up losing us the game. No big deal. I don't remember that at all. Yeah. To put things in perspective, I was the first quarterback from our high school to not make the playoffs. It was like in, I don't know how many years. Had to be almost 20 years, I think, plus. I was the first quarterback to end that streak. No big deal. I just remember breaking down the huddle the last game. Like, it was pouring rain. That fall, it was the fall of 97, and it was like El Nino. Yo soy El Nino. The Chris Farley skit from SNL. Oh my God, you got to look it up. So good. El Nino was in full blast that whole fall. I think out of the 9 games that we played, which sucks, we only played 9 games. I think they played 10 or 11 now. It rained for, it was horrible weather for like 6 or 7 of those 9 games. Sucked. And I remember the last game of the year, it was like torrential downpour. We're getting smoked, and I have to throw the ball a million times in heavy rain. My arm is like about to fall off. I just remember being in the huddle and just like breaking down. Being like, I am so sorry. Like it's all my fault that we're in this position, even though we had multiple injuries. I mean, that my dentist buddy that I mentioned, he got hurt. Starting center got hurt. The buddy who committed to Delaware, played football at Delaware, he got hurt. There's just a lot of injuries, and yeah, you know. But I was also, no big deal, first quarterback in franchise in the program's history to operate out of the shotgun. That's right, folks. I'm like 99.9% sure it was the first quarterback in Notre Dame football history, high school football history, to line up in the shotgun formation and accept a shotgun snap. You're welcome. Yeah. But yeah, so I remember when we lost, I thought it was the shit. Like that August during training camp, because like the cheerleaders were also doing their practices or whatnot, and just walking around and being like, "Hey, so I'm the starting quarterback. What's up?" And they were like, "Oh, wait, for real? You are?" Like, it's just not in total disbelief. And then after we lost our season opener at home, regular season, to a team we hadn't lost to in a very long time, the next Monday, the next day of school, I had a cheerleader come up to me and go, "I can't believe you lost. You guys suck." Like, I'm like, what? Well, first of all, you were cheering for us to score when we were on defense. And I guess, yes, that is technically possible, but it's not the time. So, yeah. There's just a ton of memories from high school. I wish I could dump them all on you right now, right here. But yeah, so the 7 to 10 open bars sped by. I don't think there were a lot of divorcees in the crowd. I think there was one other divorcee, my buddy, the guy who I rotated with quarterback freshman year, who ended up going and playing basketball and was pretty good. He's like the Dennis Rodman of our team. Big on rebounds, nose ring, broken penis. So I think he was the only other divorcee. And I think his custody schedule is a lot more crazier than mine. I ran into another classmate, a fellow Scorpio, who I definitely had a crush on. It was like pretty much almost every woman there I had a crush on at some point. Just young puppy love, infatuation. I was heavily into rom-coms at the time, so I don't think that helped things. And I also blame Canada. So she was telling me, she was like, your custody schedule, 5 days is a long time to go without your daughter. And I was like, yeah, but what's the alternative? And she's like, why don't you do a week on, week off? And I'm like, wait, so 5 days is too long, but 7 days is not too long? So I don't know. She is happily married with 2 kids. So she doesn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But it was interesting to hear her take. I was like, oh, okay. Just went flip mode on my ass. But everyone, for the most part, looked great. It was almost like none of us had aged since the 20th reunion. Like everyone's pretty much kept themselves in decent shapes. And maybe that's just like we're all the same age. So we're all aging with ourselves. So we look in the mirror every day and we see us slowing so slow, right? The slow aging, because if you see yourself every day, you can't notice the changes from day to day. So I think that's what was going on, because we're all like, wow, we all look great. We haven't looked like we aged. I had someone say, oh, you haven't changed a bit since high school. You don't look any different from high school. I'm like, you ain't seen these Louis Vuitton, this Gucci underneath these eyeballs. Come on now. I got bags on bags on bags. So I think that it was like not a Mandela effect, but it was like everyone's looks at themselves who are the same age every day. And so they don't notice how different they look 5 years before. I think that had something to do with it, but pretty much good vibes all around. There was one particular woman who was dressed to impress, and I applaud the efforts. because I don't think she had to do that. And she did. And thank you. I also feel weird because I always gave people fucking nicknames, which I know is a very fratty, like George W. Bush thing to do, but I just loved it. I loved people giving people nicknames. One girl I called Girl with the Purple Underwear. Why? Because I suspected, never confirmed, that she wore purple underwear because she had purple eyeliner, purple eyelashes, purple blush, purple fingernails, and purple lipstick. And I was like, oh, the girl with the purple underwear. And I just can't believe that actually. I think that wouldn't fly in today's high schools. I don't think. The girl that was the class clown with me and called Lizard. And I accidentally let that slip over the course of the night. And I was just like, hey, fuckface. I don't think she would prefer to be called like a reptile. Like, I don't think that's like what she's aiming for in life. My daughter wants to be a dog, newsflash, but I don't think, most women prefer to be like lizards or snakes or reptiles. And then this woman who dressed to impress, I used to call Loogie because it's like kind of a little bit of her last name. And I'm like, again, does she want to be referred to as a massive hawk spit with a lot of saliva, possibly some boogies, some snot going on there, whatever else is phlegm wise? Just a phlegmwad. She wants to be called a phlegmwad? No. But it felt weird calling her by her first name because I never recalled her by her first name. And I didn't. I was like, yeah. Yeah. So I had nicknames for pretty much everyone. So I had to refrain pretty hard. I tried my best. Not with the dudes, obviously, but with the ladies. 7 to an open bar. We move it inside to the regular bar where we have to pay. Proceed to get it on, right? To the break of dawn. The fellow class clown mate says, why don't you all come back to my place? We can hang out there. We can talk, whatever. And plus, so-and-so got cut off. It's like, all right, I get it. Yeah, some of us, all of us, we're too phased to be here. Too faded. So go, I honestly don't remember the Uber to her place at all. I just do not remember it at all. There was 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so there was me, a buddy I played high school basketball with, was on the high school basketball team with, JV, didn't make varsity. He went on to play varsity. So me, him, the female class clown, and then another buddy from high school that, so he reminded me, not that I forgot, but it was like, yes. So another buddy who tragically, sadly, has passed away. He passed away like around Christmas or New Year's. It would have been 3 years ago now. Supposedly COVID related. It sucks I lost touch with him because he was like one of those dudes in high school where it was just always a good time. Like always laughing, always being weird and just like off the wall. And just always made me laugh and smile. Lost him. But when we were, I think it was senior year or junior year, probably senior year. I had my shitty 92 Ford Taurus brown, like death trap. Like brakes didn't work, steering wheel didn't work, like nothing worked. The steering wheel rattled, like big time shook, like there was an earthquake when you would like go over 55 on the highway or 50 on the highway. Yeah, there's a problem. So I remember, I don't know who came up with the idea or what, but it was my buddy in his car, me in my car, and then our third dude, still alive, try and keep up. Get in our cars and we drive on the track. Now there's no one on the track. There's no one on the field. It was like the end of the school day. This track was gravel at the time. I think they upgraded it to a normal, like modern day contemporary post 1900s track, post 1800s track. But back in the day, it was gravel. And so we just drove around the gravel like it was NASCAR. Like we just drove one lap around the track, gravel track, and we were on our way out. And so we ended up, someone spotted us, someone ratted us out, and we had some teachers, administrators come out and block our way. I'm convinced to this day that my buddy who was leading the charge decided to stop to get his amp. And I'm like, sweet getaway plan, guy. Like, what are you doing? I still think that's the case, but my other buddy was like, oh no, I think they were waiting for us, big time waiting for us. And I was like, oh, okay. And they were like, all right, 3 of you not going to prom. And then all 3 of us are like, okay. Like we did not give a shit. Like we were not planning to go to prom. That was kind of the vibe for me in high school. Like to not go to your senior prom. Why? And then I think I got asked by a girl. And can you guess what happened? Fumble. Yeah, another fumble. I have a turnover problem. So, yeah, I messed that up big time at the after party. Neil, you and your big dumb mouth. So, man, that's a big regret on my part. So many regrets. But yeah, he reminded me that we had drove around the gravel track, and I reminded him. I was like, well, his name is Coach Roboleski. We call him Coach Robo. He is no longer with us, unfortunately. I think he passed because of cancer. I can't remember. He taught coached track and field. And so he was also one of our football coaches, I believe. So I think that's how he primarily knew me. He must have been a substitute teacher or something. And he was so pissed because it was like the day after this all went down, the ride around the track, heard around the world. And so he's like, what would you think? Or how would you feel if I drove my truck all over your baseball mound? Because I was also a pitcher on the baseball team. Those are just facts. And I was like, I kind of wish you would. Our mound sucks. Like it is the worst. So if you could just demolish that with your truck, fantastico, and then we can rebuild it to my liking. That'd be awesome. So, so it's him. And then this is a crazy story. And it is funny how things work out, how life is a highway, and I want to ride it all night long. But he ended up marrying a girl that was a year above us. Now, they just started dating like 3 years ago. So they went to high school together for 3 years. She's a year above. She was in the Hall of Fame for playing basketball at Notre Dame High School. Definitely scored over 1,000 points, which is a pretty big deal. And my buddy didn't play sports at all. He was just like, we would hang out and do stuff. Extracurriculars, if you will. Not affiliated with the school. So, and then over COVID, he literally slid into her DMs, started talking, started dating, got engaged, married. So it is kind of wild how things turn out. Cause if you were to go transport back to high school, 1990, spring of 97, be like, hey, I know you're about to graduate. I know you're in the Hall of Fame. What do you think about that kid? Ever thought about committing for a lifelong partnership with him? No? Okay. It is wild though. That kind of stuff turns out. I had another buddy, not from this high school, but a college buddy who ended up marrying a girl he went to high school with that did not date her in high school. Like didn't hang out in the same crowds. I guess weren't really friends and just reconnected. And now they're married with 2 kids. So it was them, this like the kind of like high school sweethearts that weren't sweethearts in high school. My buddy from the basketball team, and then my fellow female class clown went back to her house and just hung out for hours. I was the last one to leave. I left at 4 a.m. 4 a.m. And let me tell you, plenty of Jaeger secrets to go around. If you don't know what Jaeger secrets are, it's basically you just get drunk and tell secrets. It's basically that level of drunk where it's like, this is a deep, dark, lifelong secret. And now I'm giving it to you because both of us are blotto. And neither of us will remember, right? So plenty of secrets to go around. No. But it's just good to reconnect. So highly successful, 10 out of 10, definitely recommend, would do it again, would, and we're already talking about our 30th year. 30th. I'll be friggin' 47. Oh, God. It's going to be hard to, I feel like this is where the tide starts to turn for a lot of us in our 40s. Like early 40s is like, yeah, we still got it. We're still getting back to the thing. Like, we don't have to, like, kids are not draining our souls and our life force. So like we're able to stay young. And then I think something happens at 45-ish. And I think that's when it starts to take a turn. I could be wrong, but with modern science the way it is, advanced technology. So yeah, that was the 25-year high school reunion. A few people that didn't go that I was hoping to see. But for the most part, I think everyone got along. Everyone had fun for the most part. It was good to meet some of the spouses. They allowed some people to bring their spouses, so that they brought their spouses, and it was just good to see that, you find your other. I know love is dead, but it's like it could be reanimated, within me. But it just I think everyone was high because it just smelled like weed everywhere. It was just like, now that it's legal, it's like, well, no reason to hide. But yeah, it's not that I don't know. There was no drama. It seemed like everyone got along. But yet again, who am I, right? I was like the very last grape on the vine in high school. Like, I didn't know about stuff until like years later. It's just like, oh, you were still going out with her when I went on a date with her. That is why you were pissed. Got it. But yeah, I have a blast. I wish we could run that back like every other week. That'd be great. I know no one else wants to because they have lives, but I'm just like, I'm free every other weekend. If we want to just run this back, let's do it. So yeah, very nice. I came home, got the Uber at 4 a.m. He must have been waiting out there for a long time because I got charged for it. I didn't even realize. And then got home at like 4:30, 4:20, and I mauled the bag of tortilla chips. I had probably a family-sized container of hummus that was 3/4 full. Polish that off. And then I had almost a full container of Philadelphia cream cheese. Polish that off. Damn, son. And then that Fat Kid Saturday rolled into Fat Kid Sunday. I made the biggest badass 4-egg omelet with 2-3 strips bacon, 2 sausage links, turkey and chicken, of course, and avocado, nuts. So I went to the Creator. I got my big ass bucket of popcorn, ate it all in the movie theater, left the movie after it was done, got my free refill. So I ate that. And then I ended up ordering Chinese food, like a full on meal for 3 for just me. So that was mushu chicken, egg roll, vegetable dumplings, wonton soup. I didn't finish all that. Come on. I'm not a complete whale. So yeah, that was and I still am foggy and like mush brain from Saturday. And I'm just right back at it with the claws of white. So yeah, and I'm like, the whole purpose of this is to reconnect and to try and keep it going. I didn't get anyone's number. I mean, I did get one person's number, and I hope that we're able to hang out. But I just like the people that make me so happy and joyous and full of love and like give me life. Why not? Like, they're drugs to me. Like, I need more of that. And like, I don't have my dealer's number. So to not get their numbers was just a major oversight. But luckily it's like I managed to work it out. But yeah, My one buddy's like, we should just all get a giant mansion together. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm there. Which would be a complete clusterfuck. Like, it's one thing if we were all 23, 22. It's like, that could be super interesting. But we're all in our 40s and we all have kids. So, but also could be very interesting. Yeah, so that was a reunion. 25 freaking years. We're now 25 years. Wow. You know, my one friend has a 24-year-old son. Whoa, dude. A lot of the parents there, it was like, oh, my kid's 15. I'm like, 15? Not realizing that that's completely normal. That means that they had their child at 27, which is actually pretty average. That's usually when people do it. And I was like, at 27, I was like, I think maybe, I don't know, should I get a girlfriend? Yes, you should. Should I settle down? As if I was like this major playboy genius billionaire philanthropist. It was not. 'Twas not. So that was cool. There was only I get really demoralized when I meet someone new and I'm not able to carry the conversation for more than like a minute. When I stall after like question 2, and it's like I think it's me picking, like, subconsciously absorbing the cue to like, okay, abort, but it's still not blatantly clear to me. So I was like, I met my buddy, a classmate's spouse, and I was like, how'd you meet, you know, my classmate? Because she didn't go to her school, and she gave like a very short answer. It was like, well, he's Greek and I'm Greek. And I'm like, cool. I almost went to Greece once. Should have gone. My college buddy, though, goes to Greece every August. Is that cool? No? All right. Bye. Yeah. So it was no, I had an awesome time. Everyone looked good. Everyone felt good. Everyone looked good. Let's just run it back every year. Why we gotta wait 5 years? Do it every year. Which I guess they do it every year. But I missed the one last year. All right. So that's life. I don't want to talk about the New York Football Giants, but I have made a commitment, and I like to honor my commitments. Unlike some people, wink, wink, wink. The Giants lost to the Seattle Seahawks on Monday Night Football, 24-3. We have now lost 8 consecutive Monday night games. I'm legitimately 1,000% okay with never playing on Monday Night Football ever again. I do not care how good we are, how much of a favorite we are. No more Monday night games. No more Sunday night games. I think I'm okay with just the ones in the 4 o'clock. No more Thursday nights, no more Monday nights, no more. We're just not night people. We like to party. We don't like to work at night. Seahawks are undefeated in MetLife Stadium. That includes games against the Jets, but also the Giants and the Super Bowl. Undefeated in our home stadium. Cool. We ran 23 more plays. We owned the ball for 12 more minutes, and we still have not scored a touchdown in that God-forsaken shitbox of a stadium. You know, we keep imploring, demanding, requesting that stadium get burned to the ground. And yet there it is. It still stands in all its dull, cursed presence. First drive, like many of the first drives that we've had this year, was going really well. It's like the first drive always goes really well until it doesn't. We got down well, I was I had to FaceTime my daughter because she has a little bit of a condition. And I needed to talk her down off the ledge because her mother was in tears. So I was kind of half paying attention to the first drive, but I was like, all right, I think we're moving the ball. It does look like Danny's running for his life yet again, but he's getting positive yards, so I guess it's not that bad. And then it was 4th and 1. We decided to go for it, which, yeah, sure. You know, everyone's talking about this whole big tush push thing, this brotherly shove. Let's go for it. And we trot out chubby Mark Lewinsky on one side. And I think maybe Shane Lemieux was on the other side. Might have been another offensive lineman to push our 6'5", 230-pound quarterback 3 feet. And we failed. And supposedly John Michael Schmitz, our starting center, got hurt on that play, left the game, was out for the game. And our tight end number 2, Daniel Bellinger, got hurt on that play, didn't return to the game. So not only did we not make the first down, 2 of our main starters left the game with injury. So everyone was calling for that play to be banned, and everyone made sure to mention it on Twitter. Like, okay, so you can see not every team can do this, and it's just the Eagles that can pull it off because they have a quarterback that can squat a friggin' metric ton. Yeah, we get it. So Ben Brederson coming back from the concussion had to move from left guard to center. And then you have Shane Lemieux, a guy that I cannot believe is still on the team, a guy that we had such high hope for when he debuted in 2020 and has just completely fallen off the map to the point where it's like, I think like literally a sack of potatoes might be better out there at left guard. He got thrown around like a rag doll. So he was back in the game and he got trounced pretty much. Seahawks sacked our beloved Danny Dimes 3 times in the first quarter, including the strip sack by Mario Edwards Jr., which was recovered by Jordan Brooks, returned to the Giants' 10-yard line. So immediately following the 4th and 1 fail, Gino hands off to Kenneth Walker III. Bobby Okereke looks like he wraps him up and is trying to bring him to the ground. As soon as I saw it happen, I was like, he's not down. He's not down. And now Okereke is like kind of celebrating and like everyone's just standing around and Kenneth Walker's just kind of slowly jogging towards to our end zone. And now we're going to be in a hole 7-0 on the first play from scrimmage from the Seahawks, or at least one of the first plays. So just like a lot of people said on Twitter and a lot of fans have been saying, 11 days you had to prepare for this game. 11 days and you laid an absolute fucking dud. Like you would think that you would be all kinds of fired up and amped up and hyped up after all the bullshit that you had to hear from the 49ers after getting steamrolled towards the end there. You'd think we would want to be ripping throats, snapping necks, cashing checks. Instead, we're all just standing around with our thumb up our ass. So Jones was sacked 10 times, the most of his career. It was a total of 11 sacks because they tried that ridiculous throwback to Paris Campbell that was going to try and throw it, who ended up getting sacked. So it's 11 sacks total. The previous mark of 10 was set twice, once on October 27th, 1969, 25-3 loss to the Cowboys, and November 23rd, 1980, in a 12-0 defeat to San Francisco. Take a wild fucking guess how we finished those 2 seasons. Not in the playoffs. Daniel Jones, who was the team's leading rusher with 66 yards on 10 carries, threw 2 picks, including the 97-yard interception return for touchdown by cornerback Devin Weatherspoon on a pass intended for Paris Campbell. And that is officially when I shut it off. That's when I was like, cut it. I planned to watch the whole game, even after, so Geno Smith leaves the game. He got hurt on a tackle by Isaiah Simmons, where Simmons fell on his legs. Geno took a umbrage to that, was jawing, and ended up getting a taunting foul afterwards because of it. I didn't think it was a dirty play. I could see how that sucks. It's eventually I think it might get outlawed. I mean, they've outlawed so much in terms to preserve player health and to avoid injuries that you would think that maybe that's the next one to come. Like they've already, like, you can't pull the hair anymore. You can't horse collar, can't go low. Like, I feels like falling on the legs is coming down the pike. It's going to be another 15-yard penalty. an ejection, whatever, a fine. So Geno leaves the game. Drew Lock comes in. And everyone's like, yes, now we feast. Drew Lock. Like, it's not Geno Smith comeback of the year. It's Drew Lock. And, like, now we can at least, make it a ball game. And then Drew Lock throws, like, a pretty simple out pattern to tight end Noah Fant, who is by no means a scorcher or a burner. Not exactly the fastest dude in the world. Big dude, though. And there was, I think I read it was something like 15 yards of separation between him and the nearest defender. What are we doing? Bobby Okereke just hanging out in the middle of the field. What are you doing? I guess they're trying to tell us on the Manning cast that the slot corner ran with his receiver and was not supposed to, because it wasn't man. He wasn't supposed to be in man coverage. He was supposed to drop into zone in that flat where Noah Fant was. I guess. I mean, Trey Hawkins was benched. Darnay Holmes was benched, didn't see any defensive snaps. Ended up letting a punt bounce in the end zone. Thanks a lot, Darnay. Trey Hawkins benched after what was a pretty pathetic performance tackling wise against the 49ers. And so they had, I think Cordell Flott was either in the slot or CB2, and Adoree was in the slot. I don't know. Adoree Jackson, in my mind, can't get off of this team quick enough. Oh boy. For the amount of money that dude's making, I don't know. My instinct says there's no shot in hell, heaven, purgatory, that we're going to bring him back, that we're going to sign him again. There's just no way. I think there are a lot of games where he has lockdown capabilities, but just cannot pick off the ball and is not a great tackler. So, and Giants have been outscored 77-9 in the 4 first halves this season. We've been outscored in our first 2 home games 64-3. And we have a turnover differential of -8. It's tied for the second worst mark in the NFL behind the Raiders. Yet again, the Giants did not have a takeaway this season. Noah Fant took that goddamn pass 51 yards and almost scored. It took Isaiah Simmons to chase him down and get him down, tackle him at the 1. Of course, Kenneth Walker scores on the next play, so it's 14-3. But even after that, Daniel Jones puts together that drive. I think it's in the third quarter. Yeah, third quarter, 14-3. He is getting 0 protection on most of the pass plays. It was the point where it was like, it wasn't even any hesitation or second thought about what he was going to do. He would drop back and immediately take off to his right. Like, this is not a designed bootleg. It's supposed to be a design drop back. You step up, you make the throw. Instead, he would drop back, and as soon as he planted that back foot on the last step, he was taken off to his right every friggin' time. So part of me is like, I don't know how you expect him to throw on schedule when he has like less than a second to throw. Definitely less than 2 seconds to throw. And then you watch back the replays and you watch back the all 22, the screenshots and the clips on Twitter. And it's like, okay, you had Wan'Dale Robinson wide the hell open for well past the first down on a 3rd and 11, in which you were looking and looking and looking. And you apparently were just looking at the same person the whole time, which, we've now had multiple defenses, multiple opponents come out and say, yeah, he just stares down his first target, his first receiver, the guy he wants to go to, he just stares him down. So it's like, why wouldn't we just follow his eyes? Because he's just staring this person down, this player down, and go for it. I mean, that's what Witherspoon, a rookie corner, came out and said. I mean, Witherspoon had himself a friggin' day. That guy's, I don't know if it's just against the Giants he did this or if he's been doing this all season, but he seems like he's awesome. He was like, he laid out, did he lay out Gary Brightwell on a play, came up and laid him out, put him on his ass. He had the pick 6, obviously. He had another pass breakup that, he probably should have picked off. He just had himself a day. So kudos to you, Witherspoon. You're a player that I wish we had. We don't have any players like you. That's for sure. Yeah, so Daniel Jones, even though he's missing open guys, there are a couple plays where it's like he's just, and I said this last week, he's now like his first read isn't even a read. It's like he's just thinking about, okay, which side should I scramble to? Where should I scramble? Because he knows he's just going to get pressured. And so he's officially entered Sam Darnold seeing ghosts territory. He is so shell shocked that he cannot operate right now. That has to be what's going on, because it's not like he's missed these kind of throws or open people for 5-6 years. I don't think. Here and there maybe, but not as frequent and as often as what's happening now. And it has to be a product of every year getting pressured and pressured and pressured and pressured more. To the point where, like I said, if he doesn't get pressured, he still thinks he is being pressured and acts accordingly. Rushes the throw, overthrows, inaccurate, decides to scramble when he doesn't need to. That being said, that drive was awesome. We're down 14-3. His offensive line is decimated. We got guys starting on the offensive line that have 1 to 2 years of experience combined, most of them. And he's scrambling, he's running, he's designed runs, and he's picking up first downs. He's just playing tough, playing gritty. He's gritting out one hell of a drive. I think there was a 4th and 1. It's a naked boot. I mean, you could read it from a mile away. He evades the guy crashing down and scrambles for the first down. You're thinking to yourself, with all the mistakes that we've made in this game, if he scores a touchdown and gets the 2-point conversion, we're down by 3. Holy shit. I mean, the Seahawks at that point in the game should have probably been winning, because the Kenneth Walker was not down, right? I didn't think Kenneth Walker was down on that one run when Okereke tackled him. Like I watched that replay a million times, and I'm not seeing what other people are seeing. People are like, oh, he was clearly down. I'm like, no questions asked. And I'm like, well, his elbow wasn't down, and his butt wasn't down, was it? But apparently he's got a badonk, and that donk done touchdown. The Eagles landed. So that probably should have been 7. And then there were a couple other times where they went for it on 4th down when those were easy field goals. So they could have potentially been up 20, 26, 27 points at that point. Instead, they're only up 14-3. So to put together that drive and to have it look like, okay, maybe we are going to turn things around. Like, is this going to be like the Arizona game? And for Daniel to throw that pick 6, dude, I immediately turned it off. I've watched, like I've said before, I think I've watched some like 600 Giants games. I can count probably on one hand the amount of times that I've turned it off before it's over. And now 2 of those times has come this season alone, and we're not even week 5. Half the games I've turned off early. Supremely confident that we have no effing shot to come back, and I've been right both times. Not that I take pride in that, but again, the debate rages on. Is it talent or is it coaching? Is it talent or is it coaching? And it's like, it's both. It's the coaches not coaching, like the coaches coming up with a scheme that they think will work. I'm not questioning the effort of the coaches. I don't think. Like, I think they work hard to scheme, but I don't think they're working hard to adjust or to coach up the players. It's like, yes, they probably have a great scheme, but then they have to abandon it because we always get down by multiple scores. So I think it's a combination of both. I think it's first, like the coaching staff, how do you not see this train wreck happening in training camp? How do you not see any of that in the preseason or training camp? And then for Dable to come out and say like, oh, we're not going to make any personnel or staffing changes. It's like, so no changes, huh? just status quo, kind of just keep on keeping on. Yep. And, someone tweeted, it's like, that's literally the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. That's insane. Shake it up, guy. And I think he has tried to on offense, where it's like, we're going to bench Glowinski. Okay, we admit we made a mistake. Glowinski stinks. We're going to bench him. But then you have all these injuries, and he's forced to put in Glowinski again, forced to put in someone like Shane Lemieux. Why those two dudes are on the roster, I mean, that's just a testament, and it goes to show you what the dearth of quality offensive linemen. Or does it? Because you look at Seattle, like, their entire offensive line was hurt. All their starters were gone, and we still, like, we're not getting a ton of pressure on Geno Smith or Drew Lock. I think Kayvon had 2 sacks. Congratulations, I guess. I think it's nice to have Azeez Ojulari back. I think that helps Kayvon on a lot. But like for someone like Leonard Williams to go up against like a backup or a backup of a backup and not be able to wreak havoc and do damage is all you need to know about his future with the Giants. It's guys like that. I mean, the guys that are eating up a ton of salary cap on this team are not making the impact, other than Dexter Lawrence. That's the only guy, high-priced guy that we have on this team that is making plays and actually playing up to their contract. Daniel Jones, not even close. And you can blame the offensive line, but and it's like the chicken and the egg. Is the offensive line that causes him to play like shit, or is, whatever? So Leonard Williams probably gone after the season. Adoree Jackson probably gone after the season. And the trade deadline, this is where it gets tricky, because it's like we got Miami next, the Dolphins next, and then the Bills, both away games. That's an L. That's an L. So now we're at 1-5. I think the trade deadline is at week 8. So what's going to happen? Like, if you are 1-7, 1-8, 1-7 at the trade deadline, I mean, just pull the trigger. It's a full-on fire sale at that point, because I don't know that you're going to, like, you think you're just going to reel off 8-9 in a row? I don't know. Because then I think back to last year and I'm like, well, we were 6-1, 6-2, 7-1 right around the trade deadline. And then we finished like 9-7-1. It's like we only won 2 or 3 games down the stretch. So I guess, yeah, if you flip it, I don't know. I just think if you're 1-7, 1-8, just fucking trade. Make some trades. What I mean, I think it sucks for a lot of players, but you have to look out for the team in the future. The special teams continues to suck, by the way. I mean, the defense, if you had to give the defense a grade, what do you give it? B-? Like, I guess better than they played against the 49ers. The tackling still sucked, was atrocious, but we did hold Seattle to 3 of 12 on 3rd down attempts and 0 for 2 on 4th down tries. I guess Micah McFadden it looked good again after a pretty awesome week against the Niners. So like, but the fact that Micah McFadden is like your star guy on defense is kind of odd. Considering a lot of people thought he should not even be a starter. Isaiah Simmons has a pretty nice Pro Football Focus grade. It's one of those things where it's like, I guess that's nice, but like, it's the eye test. Like, yes, he chased down Noah Fant, but other than that, is he breaking up pass breakups? Is he getting sacks, hits on the quarterback? Like, there's just, you don't see a lot of him on camera. Like, there's not a lot of like highlights, replays, but I guess he is just playing kind of under the radar solid. So I guess that's a bright spot. Our special teams does suck though. 6 penalties on special teams. Eric Gray muffed a punt. Why the fuck he's returning punts, I don't know. He doesn't know how to. And then for Brian Dable to put Adoree Jackson back there after he tried to return punts last year and got hurt. When Richie James fumbled punts against the Seahawks, I don't know what's going on. We see that goddamn bird on that goddamn helmet, and we cannot field punts. It's like a thing. So Eric Gray gets benched. Dory Jackson goes back, and we're all like, what are you doing, Dabes? It makes me think that Dabes really does hate certain players, and he's trying to get them hurt. It's like, yeah, Dory, get back there. It'll be all right. Don't you worry. But Adoree was just fair caught a ball, let a couple balls bounce past him for about 15, 20 extra yards thrown on the total. Don't know why Sterling Shepard isn't returning punts. Don't know why Sterling Shepard's on the team if he's going to get 0 snaps every week. It's like, can you use him in somehow, some way? Like, figure it out. Gary Brightwell runs into the punter, which was declined because Cam Brown was also penalized for holding on the same play. It's like the Seahawks were trying to hand us the game for sure. And we're just like, no, thank you. Oh, no, thank you. We don't like winning. No, thank you. But thank you. But they were like Kenneth Walker running out of bounds on every play to stop the clock so we don't have to use timeouts. It's like, what are you doing? Like, we should not have got the ball back at the end of that half. Instead, we do, but we force them to go to punt on 4th down. If whoever returns the punt, I think it was Adoree, just fair catches the ball. We have the ball at like the 45 or 40 of in Giants territory. So it's probably another what? We had 49 seconds left. You can probably get in Gano's field goal range. He blasted a 55-yarder right down the pipe. But nope, Cam Brown holds. Gary Brightwell runs in the punter, and that gives the Seahawks a first down. So we're not able to get the ball back. And then Casey Kreider committed a holding penalty that also combined with a 23-yard punt return gave the Seahawks the ball at the Giants 40. So special teams sucks. Offense sucks. Defense kind of sucks. Like, not completely sucks. So 1-3, staring down the barrel of 1-5. I was looking at, well, I guess we'll get to it. So with that atrocious performance in the bag, and probably the most embarrassing, one of the most embarrassing losses in Giants history, coming off the most embarrassing loss of my lifetime in week 1. It's apparent that even though Daves was like, we're not going to make any changes, they went out and signed Justin Pugh, former Giant Justin Pugh. They signed him to the practice squad. He moved from tackle to guard. He can play tackle, but he's listed as a guard. 6'5", 311. He's now 33 years old. Went to Syracuse, Council Rock South High School, which is where I think one of the Council Rocks is where I wanted Bree to go to high school back when I was part of a family. First round draft pick in 2013, 19th overall. So it's tough because, like, we know that the Giants have not had a good offensive line in damn near 15 seasons. We had probably the best offensive line in 2008, where we had 2 different backs run for 1,000 yards. We totaled 2,000 plus yards rushing total for the season. And then 2009, we still had an All-Pro and a Pro Bowler. And then I think 2009, 2010 was when it started to fall apart and our offensive line suffered. Justin Pugh is a first rounder. Eric Flowers is a first rounder. Andrew Thomas is a first rounder. Evan Neal's a first rounder. So it's like, there were a couple of drafts where we did ignore the offensive line, or we didn't take top offensive line talent, which was a mistake. But when you misfire on a bunch of top draft picks like that, it kills your franchise, because you end up going out in free agency and overspending on some free agent to make up for your poor draft. And that's been the case. Jerry Reese put us in a fucking hole. You cannot convince me otherwise. It started with Jerry Reese having poor draft after poor draft after poor draft. We all hailed him for the 2007 draft when all those rookies contributed to the Super Bowl, improbable Super Bowl. A lot of those guys didn't last. And a lot of the guys he ended up drafting in 2008, 2009, 2010, it's like maybe we'd be lucky if we had one guy that really was a all pro bowler, or just an overall good to great player that gets a second contract. JPP, Odell, Hakeem Nicks, but a lot of these guys, they would get hurt and they wouldn't see a second contract, or they were traded. So, I mean, that was the case for a very long time. I mean, we talked about it. Dexter Lawrence, Daniel Jones, potentially Saquon Barkley. Is there another guy? It's very rare that we now are starting to sign Andrew Thomas, that we're extending and signing guys that we drafted to a second contract. It just didn't happen for like a solid decade plus. And we try to cover it up by bringing in guys like Jack Rabbit and Olivier Vernon and Snacks and Blake Martinez and Bradbury and Logan Ryan. And it kind of works for the first season, and then it just falls apart, and then we ended up having to sell. So that's where we're at. It's not like we didn't draft offensive linemen early or often. It's just maybe that's the debate right now. Is it just our scouts were completely wrong about this shit, or is it the coaching? Is it the coaching? Is it the scouts? It's one of the two, or both. The scouts completely got it wrong, and then the coaches couldn't coach them up. It's probably a combination of the two, to be honest. So, I mean, the Maras and the Tishes have to be like, oh my God, not again. And it's hard to see what the future must look like for Brian Dable and Joe Shane. How quickly the tides turned. I mean, we talked about Ben McAdoo, first year going to the playoffs, second year fired. Buck Showalter, first year with the Mets, manager of the year, one losing season, fired. So it's like, Joe Shane, you've now had 2 drafts, 2022, 2023. I thought 2023 was going to be one of the better drafts so far. Deonte Banks playing pretty well as a starter first year. John Michael Schmitz was, I don't know. I mean, I guess he was playing okay. The best of the line, which is not saying much, with Andrew Thomas hurt. And then Hyatt, just not getting the ball, getting increased snaps, which was what we're all calling for, and then just not getting the ball because Daniel Jones just doesn't look his way or doesn't trust him yet. I don't know. But Justin Pugh, his best years of the G-Men were 2014, 2015. Best years of his career actually came with the Cardinals from 2019 to 2021. And then he only played 5 games in 2022 before tearing his ACL. He has only played 2 full seasons in his career. So I guess he has to get back in football shape. Not sure how long that'll take. But I would guess if he shows something, anything, that then they'll be they might have to be forced to bring him up and call him up and just be like, just do better than Shane Lemieux and Glowinski. Can you do that? It's not asking a lot. So great, I guess. I mean, Landon Collins had a homecoming, got a pick 6, and then I don't know what Landon Collins is doing now. Is he on the team? Is he back with the Commanders? No, right? No, not playing. All right. Yeah, let's preview the Dolphins game, right? Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Sunday, October 8th, 1 o'clock at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Dolphins are favored by 10. Feels low. Over under is 50. So I'm taking Dolphins. I'm taking the Dolphins and the over for sure. Because if they can score 70 points on the Broncos, they're scoring 1,000 points against the Giants. You look at the leaders for the Dolphins, and their leaders have 2 to 3 times the output and production that our leaders do. Tua has 1,300 yards passing and 9 touchdowns. Daniel Jones has less than 800 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill is their leading receiver with almost 500 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. Darren Waller is at 153 yards, no touchdowns. And Daniel Jones is our leading rusher. He supplanted and surpassed Saquon Barkley. DJ is now 173 yards rushing. And Devon A-Chain, who started off on number 3 on the depth chart, number 4, leads the Dolphins in rushing, 300 plus yards, 4 touchdowns. Last 5 matchups. This is one of the few teams that we have owned throughout our franchise history. We lead the all-time series 7-3. As far as the last 5 matchups go, we lost in December of 21 with Joe Judge at the helm, 20-9. We beat them 36-20 in Eli Manning's last. Did he play after that? Last home game. I think it was his last home game because I remember he got standing ovation. But I think he ended up getting the win because Daniel Jones was hurt. We won in 2015, 31-24. That's when in Miami, Eli hit Odell on that sweet sluggo or post route and took it to the house. And then we won 2017 and 2011 at home. And then in 2007 in London town, the Lunder hit as we won 13-10. That's when Eli ran for a score on one of the slowest QB runs, naked boots you'll ever see in your life. Dolphins have scored 37.5 points per game. It's the most in the National Football League. We score just a shade under 12. We are dead last in points scored per game. And if you take away that Arizona Cardinals game, holy shit, we might set a record for the least amount of points scored through 4 weeks of a season. Points allowed per game, we're 30th, ranked 30th, giving up 30.5 points per game. Dolphins are actually 28th. They give up 29.8 points per game. So you would think we'd be able to score some points, but knowing our offense and how awful we are, probs not, because we faced a Seahawks pass defense that pretty much stinks out loud and couldn't throw the ball on them at all. Like I said before, -8 in the takeaway differential. That's 30th in the league. Dolphins are 0, which is 15th. Dolphins are first in passing yards per game, first in rushing yards per game. So their offenses are friggin' juggernaut. And I do not know how we're going to stop it. We most likely won't. We average 158 passing yards per game. The Dolphins average more rushing yards per game than we throw per game. 176 rushing yards per game for the Dolphins. We have 158 passing yards per game. What the fuck? Rushing yards per game, we have 94 is our average. That's 23rd in the league. And I guess we have a slightly better pass defense than the Dolphins, although our rush defense is slightly worse. So that's the preview. I mean, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be fucking ugly as hell. Ugly as sin. I do not think Andrew Thomas is going to return. I think he had a setback last week, and it's going to cost him at least another week or 2, maybe 3. I'm telling you, hamstrings are the worst, the absolute worst. So I would not expect him back for a while. Saquon revealing it's a high ankle sprain. I wouldn't expect him back for a while. There's no need in bringing him back for what is guaranteed to be a big old fat L. And it's like, hopefully Thomas and Saquon just get healthy in time for that first Commanders game after the Bills game. It's just like, let's just get these 2 losses out of the way. And then we need to really focus on getting our guys healthy and back for that Commanders game so we can at least try to salvage the season. But yeah, dude, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be bad. So, whew. I was looking at I remember I did a blog post about the worst seasons in franchise history. In 2017, I think I had it ranked like 3rd or 4th. It was the most losses in a season in franchise history, but wasn't the worst season of all time. I think that goes to 1966, where our defense was atrocious to the most nth power, giving up multiple, I think like 4, 5, 6 games of 40 plus points given up. which is like, hey, don't sell yourself short, 2023 Giants defense. I look back at 2017, and this feels like just a repeat of 2017, where offense can't do pretty much jack shit, mostly because all the receivers died. Multiple offensive line problems. It's like, sound familiar? Yep, it's the same old stuff over and over again. But maybe this is more like the 2018 season, because I think I also wrote a blog about how it was the 2018 offense was one of the worst I'd seen through, I think it was like 5 games. And then if you remember towards the end of that season, it was like, whoa, where the hell has this been all the time? It's like Evan Ingram's clicking, Saquon's clicking, Sterling's clicking, Odell's cooking. It's like we're putting up 30 plus points a game. And it's like, we're competing with the Colts, who were playoff bound. And, it just seemed like it gave me so much hope for 2019. Went completely out the window. So, yeah, we're looking at another 2017, I think. It's too much. I think it's just too much to overcome. Are we on pace for the worst Giants season of all time? No, but we're on pace for 2017 for sure. We're on pace for a top 10 worst Giant seasons in franchise history. Absolutely nothing is going right. Just impotent, inadequate, as Clem said from Barstool Sports, brainless, heartless, gutless. Just playing really stupid football. Not caring. And when I say not caring, it's like that is all encompassing. It usually means that you don't care enough to know the play, to know that you should be on the field. Like, how the fuck are we still having 10 guys on the field? How are we having the wrong guys on the field? We have to call timeout. How, dude? So, and that's why it'll be interesting to see. Like, I'm not going to completely sign off from this season. Like I said, I saw the 1% hope, even after what's gone on the past few weeks and what happened Monday night. It's like, it really will be telling what happens when we come out against the Commanders. That's going to be, for me, that can be like, all right, do I need to tune in for the rest of this friggin' year? Because I can do other stuff, man. Okay. So, but the fact that the Seahawks were trying to hand us that game and we couldn't take advantage of it does not bode well for our games against Miami and Buffalo. Oh boy. There was 64-80, right? It was like 16, 17 seasons, the dark times, the dark period, where we didn't go to the playoffs once. Only 2 winning seasons, I think, during that span. 2 more non-winning seasons where it's like, playing 500 ball. Kind of feels like we're in that era again. And we just keep thinking every year is going to be different, and it's not. And it fucking ruins your week. And it sucks to feel like your season is over after week 1, dude. After 1 week. That Seahawks team was beaten down by injuries. So many injuries. And if there were ever a time for us to sneak a win, get the upset, it was against Seattle at home, and to just play like garbage. And I completely believe that Dable has lost the locker room. I completely believe that. After seeing Jones throw that pick, Dable trying to talk to him, and Jones not even stopping, not even looking at him, just like looking around, not looking at him, and then like sitting on the bench, and Dable throwing the iPad. It's like, this is just the dam. There was a big crack in week 1, and you could see a couple of leaks sprouting out. And now it's just like, it's about to all come crumbling down. Oh boy. And now you have to start to wonder, okay, well, I guess this means this is the end of Saquon in a Giants uniform. a lot of people saying, well, he masks our flaws. We need him back. This is why we need him. And I'm like, so what? What's the end goal? Like, for him to get hurt again? It's like, I'd rather see him succeed somewhere else, just not a division rival, please, for the love of God. Go to the AFC, I think the Browns need a running back. So yeah, it's just like, as much as I want him to be a lifelong Giant, I don't want this for him. He deserves better. Daniel Jones, thank God it's not like a Patrick Mahomes contract that we have him for 10 years. It's like we've signed him for 3 years. And I think there might be an out in year 3. So it's like, people are saying, well, he's a bridge quarterback. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. Bridge quarterback. That makes sense. Because it's just brutal. But it feels like there's a huge roster makeover change coming after this season. Just a huge one. And yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you view it, that's the Giants. I'll quickly talk about the Mets. The 2023 season is officially over. We finished 74-87-1, I guess. We got a tie against the Marlins after that suspended game, even though the Marlins were up 2-1. And Gary Cohen kept saying, if they call it, then we get the win, 75-87. I was like, nah, I don't know what's going on anymore. I think it's 74-87 and then 1. What can you say that already hasn't been said? 35 blown leads. Our largest blown lead was 4. We did have 35 comeback wins. We had 6 walk-off wins and 6 walk-off losses. So I don't know. I think those all cancel each other out, right? Although it would have been knowing that we have we do at times have a potent offense, I guess. Like, if we just don't blow half those leads, you see what I'm getting at? We're at like 90 wins, which is what I said originally in my prediction for the season after Diaz went down with the injury. Like I mentioned before, we're pretty decent at home, over 500 at home, and we're less than 400 on the road, which is just abysmal. We ended up finishing out September at playing 500 ball. So, not too shabby. August, I can't believe we went 11-18 in August. Well, I guess I can after our roster was gutted. Yeah, that makes sense. There might be a little bit of a side effects, aftermath, after gutting your roster. But yeah, 13-13 September, 0-1 October. We played slightly less better ball in the second half than we did in the first half. Less than 500 and 1-run games, which is what we excelled in last year, was 1-run games. Stunk against the American League. In terms against playoff teams, though, you look at the playoff teams from the National League. We were 6-1 against the Diamondbacks, 8-4 against the Marlins, 1-6 against the Brewers, 6-7 against the Phillies. It's not too shabby. I mean, we were 3-10 against Atlanta, but 3-3 against the Dodgers, 500 ball. So I think that's what's kind of frustrating about this team, is that they would have good series against good teams, but could not avoid the pitfalls of lesser teams than them. That friggin' Tigers series and the Rockies series. It's literally those like 2 or 3 series. That's the difference. They just played better in those 2 or 3 series. So the season comes to a close, and I see a notification that Buck Showalter will not return for the 2023 season. He apparently announced it before Sunday's game it was the final game against the Phillies, in which we got blown out 9-1. But I guess prior to that game, he said he would not return for the 2023 season. I'm like, oh, so there were rumors he was going to step down. I guess he is officially stepping down. And so I was not completely surprised, because, there was talk about how he was going to step down. So I was like, all right, this makes sense. But then then it came out he didn't resign and he didn't quit and he didn't retire. So what happened? And then it's like, oh, no, he got fired. It's like, is this because of David Stearns? David Stearns isn't even officially like employee of the Mets yet. Like Monday is when they're going to make the announcement. And so Sunday, Buck comes out and says he's not going to return. It turns out he's fired, which means I guess Steve Cohen fired him or Billy Epler. I don't know. And then so it's not a great look. And I think it was handled poorly, which I guess, not surprising when it comes to the Mets handling things. They always handle things poorly. So the whole thing rolled out very weirdly and was worded weirdly. Like, why not just say Buck Showalter fired? It just kind of slowly came out like, oh, he's stepping down. No, he's not retiring, whatever. He got fired. So I was not calling for his head. Everyone kept asking me, is he going to get fired? And I was like, no way. After one bad season, 101 win season, manager of the year, and one season of like, okay, you failed to come close to meeting expectations, fell way short. But so that's grounds for dismissal. Whoa, what a difference a year can make. I think I can attest to that. So I'm against the firing. I think it's the wrong move. In that introductory press conference, which we'll talk about now, David Stearns, he said he's going to cast a wide net. A lot of people think that Carlos Beltran seems like the easy answer. I guess he's working in the Mets front office in some capacity. We already went down this road before. We tried to hire him as a goddamn manager, and we made the announcement, and then it came out that he was part of the Astros cheating scandal, and so he had to step down or some bullshit. So again, I think it would be good and nice to see him as the manager. I think Craig Counsell's name has been mentioned. And then Phil Nevins was the other one was it Phil Nevins? I think. So I know Pete Alonso loved him. I think everyone in that clubhouse pretty much loved Buck. And maybe that is the problem. Maybe you don't want a guy that it's tough with baseball. I think with football, with a coach, it's like you like with Parcells and the Giants, it just felt like, okay, he struck fear into the players or he had their respect. And I don't know that he was well liked. He was just respected and maybe even feared. Baseball, it feels like it might be different. Like they definitely play for their manager that they love and they like. So I think it's a different, there are no managers in baseball where it's like they're striking fear and intimidating their players. It's just a different game, different sport. So I do wonder if Buck, a lot of people said that Buck was mailing it in, phoning it in, faxing it in. And then that was a major reason why he was fired, because it's like, hey, dude, let's use some of your expertise and your wisdom to pull us out of this. Like, what are you saying to these players? What are you doing to get them out of this funk? Other than telling the media and saying to the media, he's a good player. Yeah, he'll play out of it. He's a good player. He's a really great player. He'll play out of it. He's a professional. He'll pull out of it. It's just like, yeah, but are you doing anything? Like you just expect him to pull out of it? Are you helping the dude at all? Come on. But I know Pete Alonso took it pretty poorly. He was going to talk to Steve Cohen before he got talked out of that. And then Lindor. I know Lindor was a big fan as well. I think pretty much everyone on that team was a fan of Buck. So it's kind of sad to see him go. And for me, it's like, I would have loved, my God, for him to get his first World Series with the Mets. It's such a awesome story. And then he can ride off in the sunset and retire. That would have been so epic, but nope, not going to get it. Never going to get it. So then David Stearns is introduced as president of baseball operations, 38 years old, which is nuts. Apparently he would sneak into Shea in the late 90s. Those were his teams, were the late 90s Mets, which is interesting. 97 was Olerud, maybe Lance Johnson. Ventura was 97, maybe not. 98 is when we got Piazza, right? And 99 is when we went to NLCS. Leiter, Ventura, Alfonso, Piazza, Olerud had moved on, but Todd Zeal in the mix. So, you know what? I don't know what to make of the guy. He had success with the Brewers. He says he's a lifelong Mets fan. We now have an owner that's a lifelong Mets fan. You know, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? I think it's a good thing because they care, but is it a bad thing because they care too much and they're make decisions with their heart and their feelings and what they hope for instead of what makes business sense. So I obviously don't see that happening. I mean, Cohen's a friggin' billionaire, but you know, it's so funny that a lot of the media and former players think that we're gonna go coasting next year and we're just gonna play out the season and not be competitive. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, it's just, that's not the mentality. Yes, that's what Epler told Scherzer and Verlander because they wanted them both off the team. They were eating up huge amounts of salary, and it was clear that they had lost a step as a tour. And so, like, why keep them on the payroll if you're not going to get the best bang for your buck? You're not getting the value for that contract. It's like, all right, we're hoping you were this. You turn out to be this. So have fun somewhere else. And we're just going to tell you that we're not going to be competitive next year. But yeah, dude, how can you not be, especially when you're fans of the team that you own and that you're managing or whatever, you're going to try your fucking damnness to make them competitive every year. So I think we'll be competitive next year. More competitive than we were this year, by God. So, yeah, I mean, first impressions, you know, it's the first time I've seen him talk, and, you know, he seems measured and composed and kind of even keeled, which I guess is, you know, it's what you want. You know, I don't know that I am glad because I know that we've been talking about getting him for so long. It's kind of like, all right, now, come on. I'm not going to get overly excited and nuts because you're with us now. Now it's like, okay, now you need to prove to us and show us why we were pining over you for so long. Work your magic, my guy, because there are a lot of holes on this roster that we need to fill. And luckily we replenished the farm system, but I think for us to be competitive in 2024, I don't know if a lot of that farm system is going to be ready. So what do we have to do? We have to turn to the free agent market. So I thought I would take a look at some of the top free agents that could be a fit. This is kind of an early, possibly premature look, considering free agency doesn't start until November or after the World Series. So another month, but I know a lot of people would be very happy and overjoyed, frothing at the mouth to go out and sign Shohei Ohtani. And I'm here to say, no, don't do it. I don't want to be the wet blanket, but I gotta be wet. I gotta saturate and dampen the mood because for us to sign him for an ungodly amount of money, and he's a DH and the pitcher, but then he gets hurt and he can't pitch. Okay. Now we're just paying for a DH. And then maybe he gets hurt again and he's not a DH. So now we've lost effectively two positions for one player. You know, that's tough. That's hard for me to swallow. So I'd say, and anyways, Shohei's like pretty much said that he wants to stay on the West Coast. He doesn't want to come east. So I think that's a no for me, dog. And it's just unlikely. I don't think it's, you know, a lot of people are saying that it's just not going to fit. Other than us just having money, you know, Steve Cohen's wallet, it's like, it doesn't look like it's a fit. So who else amongst the top free agents would be a fit? Currently, I think he's the number 3 ranked free agent. I could be wrong. Third baseman, Matt Chapman, former Oakland A, turned Toronto Blue Jay. Offensive production dipped in 2021 and 2022. He was still a solid power hitter during those 2 seasons and earned his 3rd Gold Glove in 2021. His home run total did dip this past year. He only played in 135 games, but his on-base percentage was his highest since 2019, and he ranked in the AL's top 5 with 39 doubles. So his slugging percentage slightly down, OPS slightly down, but still getting on base at a nice clip. He was on pace to finish with a WAR of more than 4 last season, a mark he reached in each of his previous four full seasons since 2018. The market's pretty thin this year at third base, so he's going to probably get overpaid. But would be nice to bring him in. How old is he? I think he's 31. And Spot Track has his market value at 6 years, $103 million for an average annual salary of $17.2 million, which would rank 9th amongst third basemen and 78th overall in the majors. His contract would be similar to those of Dansby Swanson, Michael Conforto, Brian Reynolds, and Josh Bell. So that would be a nice addition, because I don't know that you can roll into next season thinking that Brett Beatty's your starting third baseman or Ronnie Mauricio or Mark Vientos. I don't think any three of those dudes, although I guess maybe Mauricio is starting to settle in towards the end. I don't know. It feels like he had an error or bonehead play or just missing plays pretty much every game that he was at third. Same with Brett Beatty. Oof. So that would be nice. Nice little addition. Another third baseman we could think about is, I'm not going to butcher this, Jeimer Candelario. Jeimer Candelario. Fuck. 29 years old, 5 years of experience, bats and throws righty. His market value on Spot Track is 3 years, around $35 million for an average annual salary of $11.6 million. That would put him at 15th among third basemen and 135th overall in the major leagues. So that's a nice little backup plan if Chapman falls through. And then in terms of starting pitching, Yoshi Yamamoto, right-handed pitcher. He only ranks, he's the 10th overall free agent as ranked by MLB.com as of late September. He only ranks that low because his availability is not yet official. Expected to be posted by the Oryx Buffaloes this offseason, adding another intriguing arm to the free agent market. The 25-year-old has won both Pacific League MVP honors, the Sauramura Award, which is the Japanese version of the Cy Young, in each of the past 2 years, and can immediately jump into the number 1 and number 2 spot in a big league rotation, the way Masahiro Tanaka did with the Yankees nearly a decade ago. Yamamoto will likely jump into the top 5, possibly top 3 of these rankings once he's posted. So I don't know if that's happened yet, but his potential fits are the Dodgers, Mets, and Red Sox. So I know we've been clamoring for it. Some people think that Kodai Senga can give us some pull there. Senga came out and said that he it's not good if he's the ace. He doesn't want to be the ace. So if he's still the ace next season, that's probably not a good thing. It's kind of like self-deprecation humor, but also like that's pretty nice to hear. I mean, you could twist it and say like, oh, he doesn't have the confidence to be the ace, to be the number 1. Or it's like, let's just get more good dudes so I don't have to be the ace. Like, let's just get a lot of more quality pitching. And, even though he was the ace and can be the ace, it's just cool to see and hear him be so self-deferential. I don't know if that's the word. Probably not. So if Yamamoto falls through, which I really hope that doesn't happen, some other free agent pitchers to consider: Jack Flaherty, 27 years old. He's the number 2 in the rotation for the Orioles right now. He had a 3.58 ERA with the Cardinals before going to the Orioles. Did miss a lot of games in 21 and 22, but was a Cy Young finalist in 2019, Rookie of the Year finalist in 2018, a former first-round draft pick. Righty. He's probably amongst the youngest, if not the youngest. Is he the youngest? No. The next guy on the list is the youngest. Julio Urias, also number 2 in the rotation for the Dodgers, 27 years old, 5 years of experience, lefty out of Mexico. Spot Track has his market value at 6 years, $143 million for an average annual salary of $23.8 million, which would rank him 9th among starting pitchers and 32nd overall in major leagues. So that's a pretty tall order in price to pay gives me a little pause, but he was a Cy Young finalist in 21 and 22, 20 win season in 21, lowest ERA in the majors in 2022, a lifetime ERA of 3.11, but did post a 4.6 ERA this past season. So it's kind of like, a little skittish there. Other options, Lucas Giolito. He is 29 years old, 5 years of service, a righty, former first-round pick out of California. Market value on him is 4 years, $47 million with an average salary of $11.8 million per year. Cy Young finalist in 2019, 2020, and 2021. All-Star in 2019. He did give up the most home runs in the majors this season at 41. Oh, my God. He started with the Chicago White Sox, then went to the Angels, and then eventually the Guardians. He has an ERA of almost 5 the past 2 seasons. So is it an aberration? Was he going through some shit? Did he have some issues at home that he needs to talk about? I don't know. So hopefully that's just a bump in the road, and we can get back to the glory days of 2019 and 2021. Luis Severino, New York Yankee. He was number 3 in the rotation there, 29 years old, 6 years of service, a righty from the Dominican Republic. Market value of 1 year, $11 million. He was an All-Star and Cy Young finalist in 2017, 2018, and career ERA of 3.79. Kind of feels like we should just take a freaking flyer, dude. I know the idea of a former Yankee coming to the Mets hasn't usually panned out the way we would want it. It very rarely does. But maybe this is the exception, considering we're so strapped for arms in the rotation, the bullpen. So I'd say kick the tires, my man. Another pitcher that could fit, Michael Lorenzen. He's a number 4 in the rotation, 31 years old, 7 years of service, a righty, former first rounder of the Cal State Fullerton. Spot Track has a market value of 3 years, $27.6 million with an average salary of $9.2 million per year. He was an all-star last year, or all-star this year. He does have a career ERA of 4.11. Currently with I think he's currently with the Phillies, or the Phillies traded for him this year. So something to think about. Vincent Velasquez, 31 years old, 7 years of service, a righty, former second rounder. Is he? Oh, he's a righty. The market value on him is 3 years, $24 million, average annual salary of $8 million per year. He does have a career ERA of 4.88. He was last with the Pirates, so it's like we're now getting into like Cookie Carrasco territory, where you know, if you can get Cookie Carrasco from 2021, 2022, maybe it's not so bad, but I wouldn't want to lock this dude up for 3 years. That's for sure. So that's kind of like the pitchers that I was looking at. How about outfielders? Right fielder Teoscar Hernandez, 31-year-old. He's a Silver Slugger in 2020 and 2021, All-Star in 2021. Market value in him is 4 years, $66 million a year for a $16 million average annual salary. Would put him 12th amongst right fielders. I think he's kind of the leader in the clubhouse. I think I've seen a lot of jersey swaps with him on Twitter. So I think that's someone that you need to seriously consider. You know, we don't really have, it's nice that we have DJ Stewart. I think that's a good 4th outfielder to have. Maybe he'll see even more playing time. You don't know what kind of recovery process is going to happen for Starling Marte. It seems like whatever he had done last year didn't stick, didn't work because he was ineffective this year. So it's hard to say what kind of productivity you can expect from him next year. I mean, if he comes back 100% fully healthy, look out. But I just don't know that that's going to happen. So, yes, you could stick McNeil back out there and throw Mauricio at second. Obviously a possibility. But I think everyone would feel a lot more comfortable if you could get a nice addition like Teoscar Hernandez. Another option is Jock Peterson. Not a huge fan of Jock Peterson, but he's 31 years old. And this would be kind of a very short-term investment. 2 years, $31 million. I don't hate that. JD Martinez, this is another short-term investment to think about. 1 year, $15 million. Can play DH, can play right field. He is 36 years old. So there's that you got to think about. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., outfielder, left fielder, who's about to turn 30. Market value on him is 5 years, $73 million with an average annual salary of $4.6 million. He's currently with the Diamondbacks playing against the Brew Crew. Joey Gallo, about to turn 30. Can play the outfield, can play first base, can spot Pete, peak, and then DH. I like it. I love it. Want some more of it. Again, another short-term investment. 1 year, $14 million. Feels doable. Feels like you could get, if you want to be competitive but not sacrifice the future, I guess it is. Like, if you don't want a slew of long-term contracts with some veterans that are over the hill, that the back end of the contract is going to suck. I am completely for signing JD Martinez and Joey Gallo to 1 year contracts. Why not? Some other names that I noticed that I guess people might think about. Hunter Renfroe's 32, Jason Hayward's 34. I don't know if Conforto opted out of his contract. I don't think he did. I could be wrong, but I don't know if he even wants to return the Mets. Maybe. Charlie Blackmon would be interesting, but he's also 37. And then I know that Brian Anderson's 31. He can play outfield and third base, which is interesting because I think I dig the versatility there. So yeah, those are the free agents that are kind of on my radar. It'll be interesting to see what you guys think. It'll be, as it has been the past 2 or 3 off seasons, a very interesting off season. BC, it's like we made the push in the off season before, in 2021. We made the push in 2022. And I think we're going to make another push here. But maybe it's a different approach. I don't think we're going to be handing out any $45 million average annual salary contracts. I'd much rather see us spread the wealth. We need a lot of dudes. We have a lot of needs. And so I think it would be foolish to throw all kinds of money at one player. As much as I freaking love Shohei Ohtani. And I think it would be so cool. It just feels like too high of a risk. And I feel like there's other avenues we should take. And it starts with Yamamoto, Chapman, Gallo, Martinez. Oh boy. Probably going to catch some heat for that. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll talk to you next time. Adios, muchachos.